So the pause is pivotal, slowing down, and the pause brings presence. And that's the power that we can start to then root into and grow from that point.
So let's welcome Briony Montgomery to the show. Hi, Briony.
Hi, thanks for having me. A great
Oh,
intro.
yeah, it's a very nice space, and we learn a lot. And I ask all to really pay attention because we are really going through um, a very special time in our world. So we'll talk about that too. But as usual, my first question is, Bryony, when you hear this expression, allow yourself, what comes to mind?
Mm. Lots comes to mind, but what comes to my body is this kind of joy, actually. When I hear the allow yourself, it kind of springs a kind of a sensation in me of excitement, because I think, allowing yourself that expression in this current where we sit in the world right now, I think there's less of allowing yourself, as a collective vibration, just being who you are and allowing yourself to live and live the life that you're wanting to live and be with the people that you're wanting to be with and create the globe that you're wanting to create. And that allowing yourself is really, that allow part is really, I think, extremely pivotal, particularly in my story, and that permission to give yourself that this is a choice. You can absolutely choose to allow yourself to be and create what you wanting to be, and what you're wanting to create in the world.
Wow, that's beautiful. And we were talking before what's somatherapy. So people can align to the allow yourself to be. What
Mm.
is it? How can you explain it?
So I've got a very multifaceted kind of way of working with my clients and with my students, that has been ongoing for about 25 years, something I've formulated from personal experience as well as qualified, study and qualifications in the area of energy healing and psychotherapy, and particularly somatic therapy. And all of those different components coming together to formulate this really anchored, rooted sense of self in the body. So you can't, in my work, I don't believe that you can kind of have a really solid and secure anchoring in who you are and in life, and of service to the world and what you're here to do and bring, without having a really good sense of who you are in the body, of really connecting with the body's impulses. And that also includes your lineage and your story and your ancestors and where you've come from. And we can't, often in this kind of work, where I have come from, the energy space, is that we often kind of just we kind of filter what we're wanting to see within ourselves, in our lineage, in the way that we commune with the world. And when we're in the body, there's not a good or a bad. There's not a top or a bottom. There just is. There's just a beingness that resonates in every person's body. And when we connect to that beingness and we see that in the truth of what that is for the individual, with all of the story, with all of the lineage, with all of the gifts and the resources that we have built into ourselves and that we can expand on, then that is not. It's an aliveness. It's a pulsation that's really anchors you deep into not just your body, but into humanity, into the earth, into the globe, into uh, generations back, right back to the beginning of time. And that beingness, when we're in touch with that beingness in the body that's always pulsating, that's always innately there, that's always communicating to us, when we start to listen and we start to respond, then we bring our life into a very uh, incredible, joyful, and magical, if I think that's probably the best word, magical experience where we can start to be the creator and the respondent to what's happening in and around us in real time. Like we become the power. We become the embodiment of actually what power is, of what actually life creates and springs from in every moment of the day.
What I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, is that our body talks to us all the time. So what happens to our body, we need to listen what it's saying. If it's our stomach or our back or our knees or our feet or our eyes, whatever is talking to us all the time, that is that we have to pay attention. And all that experience is what really keeps us grounded. Is that what
Mm.
you're saying? Is that what they are?
Yes. Yeah. So the groundedness, absolutely, that keeps us in um, anchored, yeah, grounded within ourselves, along with other things to keep that ground and build that capacity in the ground, particularly if we don't have any sense of grounding or we haven't been taught that within our own system. So when I work in somatic therapy, we're creating safety in the body, we're creating ground and capacity in the body. We're widening the window of tolerance and we're mapping our system so we understand how we respond to different things and experiences in real time as well as past experiences. And when we start to map our system, then we create this really solid with other practices and in relationship as well in relation to others and community, we start to create these really strong roots within our system that gives us stability and the ground. And then we create the safety, and then we can start to move into a more present state within our bodies, within our life, and the moment to moment. And when we're in that presence and we have that ground, that the body, it's an incredible experience to be in such an intimate space with the body. I mean, if you haven't had that understanding or you haven't had that teaching, it can be very scary moving in and it can be very overwhelming. But as you build that capacity and you lead from the body and then you understand from your day-to-day activities and experiences what's happening internally by different sensations or feelings or um,
Can you give us
and
an
it
example?
yes, sure.
Oh,
So when we're mapping our nervous system, like if we could take it into the context of right now in this kind of crazy times in the world, and we're heading towards a really busy time at the end of the year and the beginning of next year, so there's lots of reflection in the field, there's a lot of like wanting to finish, wrap things up for the year. There's a lot of pressure. And I mean, that's just not personally, that's collectively, like the whole culture and the whole machine of the world drives us in these particular points in the year to become more productive and to be more focused on, kind of capitalism and kind of spend and trying to create this sort of ideology for things like Christmas or, New Year or birthdays and big occasions. And so we get into this kind of slipstream of it can be conscious but also unconscious. We just kind of click straight into this kind of, this is familiar. I know this pattern. There's lots of different sources and there's lots of different cultural and ancestral and familial patterns that I already have ingrained in me, not just me, but collectively, individually, the me, that I just click into. And when we're kind of moving at that pace as well, that the culture likes us to move at, because that's kind of, I won't go too much into that, that kind of separates us from our body. So we become more productive. But when we move at that pace and that patterning, we start to have experiences within the body and triggering within the body that connects us to stories from our past. We may have had a parent who didn't do this time of the year very well, and they had patternings, and there was experiences laced in that familial pattern around this time that we just hook straight into and that we're not aware of, that kind of triggers us and triggers parts of ourselves, our inner child and protector parts of ourselves to come in and start to run the story for us to keep us safe. And so when we start to become aware of those patternings, and it could be like drinking more, it could be like eating, more like food, it could be sleep deprivation, like we could go into like a more um, when people are under stress, they go into a fight, flight, fawn response. And so all of that stuff is triggered at heightened states, particularly at this time of year. And you might go into a fight state. So you might go into a hypervigilant state of like, I've got to get things done, I've got to get things done, I've got to get things done. You might also go into a numbed out state, like I can't cope, I just want to go like a functional freeze, like you kind of lights are on, no one's home. You might fawn a lot more. You might be trying to please all the family relations because you know that it's going to be a huge day come that Christmas day, all those occasions that you're spending with family and you're out of your window of tolerance. And so once we can pattern this kind of responses in our body, what we can do is we can witness and support the body in giving that reassurance and responding to the body so the body can, instead of going into that fight response and fighting and kind of that hypervigilant space, you can actually soothe the body by being present and by listening to the body and bringing yourself back into grounding, into a sense of safety, into slowing things down and more presence. And then that opens up a whole big scope of repatterning your own nervous system and ancestral lineage and healing the body. And I mean, the potential is incredible when we start to recognize our body's responses when it's trying to move us into safety.
So we need to slow down first. Is that like I talk about the pause, that we need to pause before we start changing? Is that also happen with the body?
Yes, the pause is so critical. And a lot of people can't do the pause because when you pause, there's a flood of emotions that come straight in. So we avoid the pause because it's so edgy. It's so scary to be still and to have nothing, to have that space, even if it's only 10 seconds, it's frightening. So what we do is we create ground first before the pause. So we create the safety in the environment. So in the clinic space, when I'm working with clients, we are scoping out the space around and starting to unwind the nervous system and build a little bit of that pleasure vortex of, okay, we have like in this space right now, there's an exit point. This is bringing me pleasure. Why is this bringing me pleasure? And we start to slow things down very gently and we move into this space of groundedness and we start to create the pause in that groundedness. And then that pause, when you start to then um, redirect the client back into slowing down or having the pause, it's less scary because they have already a little bit of a mapping in their system that we've already done in a really safe and contained way in the session, in the work together. And so then the pause gets less scary. So the pause is pivotal. Slowing down and the pause brings presence. And that's the power that we can start to then root into and grow from that point.
Isn't that weird? That slowing down and listening to our thoughts and our conversation, inner conversation, or just being aware of doing nothing,
Yeah.
bring us to such a scary places that
Mm.
and really is the place I think where you can start redirecting and healing and processing and let's say it's like coming. the image that I have is like you're driving very fast,
Mm.
and um, and instead of stopping the car, you just start pushing the brakes slowly, one time, two times, and then it's only when you stop that you can redirect your car, right? You can turn, uh, you can look outside, you can observe, you can contemplate things that you cannot do when you are accelerating or you are in a very fast track. Is that what you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to point out that this acceleration of living like in the car, like it's a great image and visual to have, is that we're born like the culture that we are in, the global community, we are born into this. This is something that's heavily indoctrinated into the culture, into our lineage, particularly in the West. Like this acceleration, it is on purpose to keep us severed from our connection with our body, to keep us
Yeah.
severed from connection with others, from the connection with earth, from connection with compassion, from connection with even allowing ourselves to be who we are. It is very particular to the machine in which we live in, which we've lived in for generations. This is not just a new thing. This has been indoctrinated over generations and generations. And you can really track back this cultural ideology, this hierarchical way of living, of wanting more and keeping productivity going and keeping capitalism very much alive and quite healthy without us even really knowing because it's so indoctrinated in. And often people feel that there's something wrong with them because they can't slow down, or they must be doing it wrong, or they're missing a part. But when we turn to see the actual where we've come from and how society is created, that a lot of this is actually not, we haven't chosen this. We have been indoctrinated. We're marinating in it all the time. That we can start, when we start to understand that we're already in it, it's being heavily shoved down our throats like all the time. Like everything is set up for the most powerful people in the world to benefit from systems of oppression and violence, which we're all struggling underneath, particularly women and children, men as well, but particularly women and children, that when we turn and face it, it's actually not, it's not all of our fault. We need to turn and look at the systems and the foundation in which we are being raised in and the melting pot in which we are being nourished by, I suppose you would say. It's a pseudo nourishment, but kind of that we can start to bring compassion to unpacking that it's not us that are broken. It's not us that don't have the mapping. We have the mapping. The mapping is right here. It's in the body. We just need to turn to face what the culture is. We need to turn and face what's happening in our body. We need to turn and recognize that we only have the resources that we have at this very moment. And it's okay that we don't have all the pieces. It's okay. Just the recognition of where we're sitting right now, individually, communally, and in the globe, is enough to start that unravel.
It's so interesting because we are we are trained and indoctrinated in the doing, 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 doing that we forget even to ask um, how are we feeling? How do I feel? No, even the question of greeting is how are you? But really the answer is, oh, I'm very busy. I'm doing this and this and that, right? That's the common answer. It's not like how are you feeling today? Let's say
Mm.
that's a completely different question. And people is like, what do you mean how I'm feeling today? Right? What do you
Yeah.
mean how I'm feeling? Yeah, are you sad? Are you happy? Are you enthusiastic? What's your next illusion? What? No, it's like automatic. We go to the do to our head, and we forget about the heart and the soul and the compassion and the connection. It's like, yeah, Yes, that's what
Mm,
you're saying, that we are so trained and so in the mind and go, 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 do that we we connect from our brains and we forget that we have other parts in our body that we are even much more stronger and more energetically speaking, more um, sensitive
mm.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
in order to function.
Yeah, absolutely. We are kind of in this business too of when we talk about like with the brain and that space of just thinking. The work when we move into our bodies, the particular work that I do is that we don't get rid of anything. Like we're kind of in the business that we need to change, we need to transform. Transformation is happening all the time. Like every day, we're in a transformation process. Every day we're shedding, we're aging. As women, we're cyclic. The earth is changing, the trees, the animals, the insects. We're already transforming. We don't actually need to be hyperfixated and focused on that. When we work with the body, when I particularly work with the body, we're moving things in. So even the brain, even the thinking part has a really important function because the body in itself, in every impulse it has, in every way it moves, and every thought and every process that we have, the body's primary motivation is to keep you safe. It needs safety, and that's going to look different for every single person. So even that highly critical brain, that inner critic, or what I like to I draw a lot of from Marion Woodman's work, particularly around the archetypal death mother. We're in a death mother culture, and the death mother becoming the internal inner critic within the body, that also has a function. It has a very good function, and it's to keep you safe. It's to keep you feeling as capable and safe in the community setting, in your day to day. It's a survival mechanism. And when women are in the clinic room with me, the what I find fascinating is that when I'm starting to work with a client, is that if they've been functioning quite well and quite primarily in their brain, in their thinking part of their body, when we move into connection with the body and we start to like talk about sensations and feelings, there's a lot of I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know what sensations are happening in my body. And it happens over and over again. And I find it extremely fascinating, even in the I don't know. The I don't know is even a feeling, it's even a sensation. And even to sit in the I don't know is sitting in that state of like pausing that can be quite frightening as well. But even teasing open the I don't know can lead into a deeper awareness in the body. People just don't have that connection with what's happening with their body like on a day-to-day basis. They're living in what I refer to as like a functional freeze state. They're in shutdown. They cannot cope with what is happening in their day-to-day. They cannot cope with what is happening, the pressure on them in their family dynamic, the pressure from outside, the pressure from the inside, the family dynamic of having to be more, to change, to be better, to have it all, to be more successful, to live these ideologies that's set by the culture and the ancestors, and even in our own internal system to keep that safety within the body. It's just like a pressure cooker consistently. And in that pressure cooker, we're going to live in a fight response, or we're going to go to shutdown primarily. Like this is where we're going to live. So we're going to be super hyper angry and frustrated consistently and stressed, or we're going to be in this constant state of overwhelm and shut down and like, "Oh, I can't respond because everything's too much."
So the center here is to be safe, right? So in this world, how do really you manage to calm your body down in a world that they feed us constantly in movies, in the news, in social media, that danger. That's the food every single day in every single place. So how can you keep your balance in your mind, in your body, to neutralize all that?
Mm. Yeah. It's hard. It's very challenging, particularly at the moment. I liken it like so everything that's happening internally in the body for me as a therapist, as a healer, is it's the same map and pattern that you would do out in the world. So the way
Hmm.
I respond to my body is, oh, I've got a rupture here. Oh, I've got like a sensation here in my body. Oh, I'm going into fight or I'm going into shutdown. Okay, so I need to turn towards that sensation in the body. I need to turn towards what's happening in my internal system in order to respond to it. That's, even the recognition of just what's happening in the internal system in the body will start an effect of soothing, of repair in the
Hmm.
rupture
So
just by being present
awareness.
with awareness.
So
Yes.
awareness in the present moment, and to see how you feel, and to see what's happening, and stopping and asking yourself what is happening with me in order to flip it over, as I call it, no, to
Yes.
put it in front, and very, very
And
interesting.
so yeah,
Um,
just to talk about then the world, I would then flip that into the world as well. So becoming
okay.
aware of what you're being fed. Like you eat the food that you consume is no different to the what you're consuming in the media and what you're consuming in the world and what you're actually digesting and what you're bringing in. So being aware and discerning on where you're actually being fed in the world right now
Oh, but
and
we do
turning.
things so automatic. Sorry, even if sometimes we have to ask, what did I have for breakfast? And we really have to think, what did I eat and what, right? We do it so automatic, everything. So, um, what information did I get? Or why do I have these nightmares? Really, we have to stop and go, ah, backward, and see what how we usually relate it to food, but it's, yes, it's the food of the thoughts too, of the images that we see, of the information that we get. So even yesterday I was talking to somebody about the music, and the wording of the music that we are feeding our kids, no?
Mm,
Then our kids are feeling not only the frequency and the taka, 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 but also the wording that they saying, that it's like automatic and not paying attention really what is happening
mm.
in our body, brain. Um, if you would go to your 15-year-old Briony, what would you advise her?
I firstly say you're going to be fine, sweetheart. Like you're going to be absolutely fine. You have all the resources that you need. Learn about your body. Become become your body's best companion. Learn about your nervous system. Start there. Know how you're responding to things. Learn about the sensations in your body. They're not scary, they're powerful. That's the one thing um, that connection with the body, that connection and that love and that tending to the body, that there's nothing that you didn't come with that's not welcome. Like you were born, like every baby that was born is a miracle. A miracle does not get old or it doesn't become less of a miracle because it ages. It becomes more of a miracle as it ages. So each one of us, my 15-year-old self, miracle. And every part and every component of who I was at that age, all those experiences were absolutely important and crucial and valid. Don't get rid of anything, bring it all in and learn to really tend and love and get to know every part and every piece of your story of what makes you who you are, because that's miraculous. This is the whole life. Every day is a miraculous dance. To be alive, even at this time with everything happening and the craziness of the world, we can bring a deep understanding that life still is at the pulsation incredibly beautiful. incredibly beautiful. And we just need to work harder at rooting in to that beauty and remembering that and holding that for everybody across the world. So yeah, don't get rid
That's
of anything.
that's beautiful. And is there anything else that you would say to the audience, to the people that are listening to us that probably are older than 50 years old? Because
Mm.
that advice, I take it for myself too, right? Um, would you like to say something else? What's the in one sentence the message you will tell somebody today?
That you matter, that you matter, and what you do right now in the present moment matters. You're sowing the seeds right now for what you're going to live tomorrow. And you're
Well,
sowing the
that's
seeds
beautiful.
right now for what the world's going to live. So be discerning about what seeds you plant in the ground for the future's growth.
Oh, just be aware where you plant, what seed that you're putting in the ground. So that's
Yeah.
what you, that's that's the tree where you're going to eat from. That's what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
that's beautiful. You know, the time passes so fast, and we're here. So I just wanted really, really to thank you, Brian, for the amazing conversation that we're having here, and the people that can learn so many things about somotherapy and the body, and to be connected. And really, thank you from my heart to for you to share your heart and your wisdom and taking your time to be here and allowing yourself to have this conversation and talk to all of us and those who are listening. I remind you just to allow yourself to listen, to grow, to take your space, to rest, and to really seed those seeds of the person you want and you meant to be. So thank you, Briony. Is there anything else would you like to say before we close?
Thank you so much for having me. I really invite if anybody's interested in, doing any work on their nervous system to come and check me out at the Somatherapy Collective and on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok as well. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
So don't forget, that's the Somatherapy Collective is where you can find Briony, and we will put down here the links also, so you can uh, get to Briony faster. So see you next time.